Hi, it's Julian from luminatic.com, and I got contacted by yet another Instagrammer who asked me if I was willing to review and comment on his images on Instagram, and I'm happy to follow that request. So today I'm looking at the account of Rodgaubiker, who's another Kawasaki Z900 rider. There must be a nest somewhere. It's all guys riding those who contact me in the last days, but never mind. So he's a guy from Germany who drives around with his bike, well, obviously, and posts this on Instagram. I selected quite a few images, as you can see, and I will go now through those and say something about them. So, first one, this here. It's not so good to start with one of the images where I have to critique something, where I have some criticism. This one is, of course, a very impressive shot in terms of that the bike is very prominent in the image, but it's shot at a very wide angle. You can see that this the wheel here, it's not round, it's an egg, so this must be an extremely wide angle, perhaps 12, 14, 16 millimeters, something like that. Yeah, it's impressive from a photographic point of view. It's, of course, the proportions are quite distorted, and the background is not so fitting because, as you see here, the angle here of the seat, it coincides with the angle of the column here. There is something growing behind the bike out here. There are cars here, so it's edited to look very much dramatic, but well, it's just not my type of image, as it's a little bit over dramatic and it's a pretty mundane situation that's been photographed with and then filtered and edited to look more dramatic. Also, this one here, for example, could have been edited out. But anyhow, what works on Instagram is great, and as we can see, his account has 3,000 or 3,000 something subscribers, so people like it. It's just my personal opinion here. This one is wonderful. Yeah, this is what biking is about. You drive into the sunset. You're obviously up on the mountains and or at a higher altitude, and this is really where this is an inspiring photo because it makes me want to go on the bike and live the adventure. Concerning the framing, that's great. You've got the sunset. Perhaps I'd have moved a little bit more to the right with the camera in order to have the sun a little bit more here because it touches the bike. It's not bad. It's just my personal preference. But concerning the editing, you see the halo here around the bikes, and here this is a little darker, so obviously you used a brush tool or something like that. I don't know what you use, Photoshop or Lightroom, to edit this scene. And you have to pay some attention because this immediately caught my eye that there has been some editing here and this just looks unnatural. But anyhow, besides that, it's a great shot, high contrast, and it's absolutely okay that the bikes are dark because the mood is this, what's coming through here. Wonderful scenic shot, and I love the aspect ratio you chose. Most images on Instagram are square because this is the native format of Instagram, but this one is just great. You've got this long bridge spanning from left to right, and you made the aspect ratio fit this image. That's wonderful. Great image. Oh, no. Clicking, not the arrow key. And he's also using special effects. So this is obviously a handheld smoke bomb or a smoke generator. Those are small pyrotechnical devices. I've also used them. You can either place them on the ground or have them in your hand like a small torch, and they discard some smoke. Yeah, that's great. It's a good shot. The bike is just the most important part of the bike here, and I love the framing. I love the way you stand here, so that's quite cool. Another scenic shot. And what I noticed in some of his images, the placement of his logo is quite unobtrusive in most images. So here it could be a graffiti, And I like that a lot because there is a lot of discussion going on in the photographic world on if you should use a logo, or if you should put a watermark on your images. And some people say, no, it just destroys the image. The other ones say, no, it's branding. And he does it in a very clever way. So he places the watermark in a position where it's prominent and visible, but it doesn't really disturb the image. So if the watermark was up here, it's that wouldn't look good. So that's a good placement. So concerning the edit, colors are a little flat, could be a little bit more popping, but besides that, that's a wonderful shot from, must have been a great tour. Another inspiring photo. Classic side portrait. I think it's natural light only, so the bike is leaning back from the camera, so the reflections here are the sky, I suggest. And it's a good background you chose, and it's a clear background. Again, the logo is quite unobtrusive here, and there are perhaps two things I'd have done differently. One, if I'm not mistaken, you're not at a right angle towards the wall, because you look at the lines here, they don't match the lines. They don't match the lines of the frame. So you should have taken the image, in my opinion, perpendicular to the wall. And the other thing is the bike is not centered, so you've got less space here. So with a classic side portrait like this, I'd really do it the classic way and have it centered and have everything straight. But it's the bike really comes out nice. The green is great, and that's wonderful. Magic hour, or also called blue hour, blaue Stunde in German. That's when the sun has just gone over the horizon and the sun has just set, and then it doesn't go immediately dark, but it takes like 30 to 40 minutes where the sky goes to light blue, deeper blue, and then eventually into a dark color. And here the color is, the bike is standing somewhere in the at the edge of town, I think. And I think he wanted to show the very nice sky, and this is why he chose a low position for the camera. So he went down crouched or went down on his knees to take a camera angle that's slightly upwards, so you have less of the surroundings here. But I'd have personally chosen another angle or another location, because here the background is it's a little disturbing. You see the house, you see something like it's a dig out from a construction site, I don't know, or here's the space here. So perhaps if you turned the bike a little and shot in another direction, still angled upward, but in another direction, then this might have helped in terms of minimizing the clutter in the background. Editing wise, of course, the top of the bike is quite blue because the sky reflects in it. It looks a little bit unnatural, because my very first impression when I took that when I looked at that image was, the color balance is off, but it's not, because that's just the color which is predominant here due to the sky. So perhaps I'd have edited with a brush, also corrected the color, the parts here which are too blue, a little bit more to the yellow. Okay. But besides that, it's a great image, and again, keep in mind, I'm just giving my personal opinion, and it doesn't mean that this is wrong or right. It's just there are millions of ways to do something in photography. I chose this one because it shows something called the Dutch angle. Dutch angle means when you tilt the camera on purpose to achieve a more dramatic effect. You have to differentiate between just a slightly slanted horizon or an advertedly tilted camera. And here in this case he tilted the camera to the left to give this more dramatic look. I like the lines in the image, so you have a line here and here and here and here. So this is from left to right is how we usually read. And this means that this is perceived as a positive direction, because you from left to right, it's going upwards, so this image has a more positive look. Editing wise, the background is a little too bright. This looks a little bit overexposed. And here the colors, again, this is too blue. This is too blue for my taste. And also here, I don't know why you have got this purple frame here. It's color fringing or something like that. And what's that? So is this a hedgehog with moss, or what is it? So I like the image being slanted, being tilted, but the colors are a little off, and also perhaps I'd have tilted the bike a little more in order to see more of the side. You're at a really steep angle here. This one. I love this one. It's sharp, it's clear, it's got very defined contours, and I just love the colors. The green here on the wall goes perfectly with the green of the bike. It's a wonderful green and wonderful design of the bike. You see all the shapes and the different forms here. This is just wonderful. Being Instagram, it's a square format. For this image, I'd have preferred something more rectangular to see more of the, perhaps in this direction, to see more of the wall, and perhaps a little bit more here, because the bike is a little cramped into the tight space. So usually for a good image perception or good composition, the bike needs a little room to breathe, as I call it. So you need a little space to all edges of the frame in order to have a balanced look. But as I said, everything I say, there are thousands of examples that can go the other way. There are no absolute rights and wrongs in photography. This one I chose because you wanted to show detail, but I'm not really sure what exactly did you want to show, because we see the fuel tank, we see the mirror, so I'm having trouble making out what you wanted to show. This image, crystal clear, it's the bike. It's a bike portrait. This one, I really don't know. And again, I don't know if this is on purpose. You've got this blue here. Everything is blue. So I noticed that many of your images have this over-excessive use of blue. If this is the style you want to go for, okay, if this is kind of your trade sign, your trademark you try to establish, then this is okay. But I'm just wondering, because it looks strange. Also, the bokeh here doesn't really look nice. You've got this blurry edge of the top case, or the little bag you have on the bike, and the bokeh is the form of the unblurred, of the blurry things in the background. This is not really. So this is I wouldn't give this image too many stars. Sorry. And this one I'd give a lot of stars, because it's a wonderful location, well spotted. You've got the clean concrete background. You've got this wonderful old fuel pump, and wow, this is just great. There are 2 or 3 things I could suggest. At first, the placement of the logo is, wonderful. It could be on the wall, but it's absolutely sharp, and the wall is out of focus. So in order to give the viewer the impression that that your logo is part of the wall, you should blur it a little, just a little. It should still be readable, but blur it in such a way that it looks a little bit more as if it is on the wall. Then this would look a little bit more natural. Here. Also, positioning, the lines are not. I'm a fetishist when it comes to lines and everything straight. I'm very German, like in this case, Stackenblochen. And you should have perhaps shot perpendicular to the wall again, to have these lines perfectly straight with everything, because everything is a little off. This line is a little off, and this one is not standing completely upright. This is the first thing, and the second thing is the bike is looking away from the fuel pump. I have turned the bike the other direction, and so like the same angle to the camera, but the other way around. You know what I mean? That it's looking in this direction, and this would have made the two elements of this image more fitting and more looking together, because now the bike is looking out of the frame, and if you turn it around, then it's looking towards the fuel pump. But that's the detail. Anyhow, how great location. And well spotted. Oh yeah, and again, if you're at it with Photoshop or whatever you're using, clean up these little things here. So these are the small details. To be honest, most people on Instagram won't notice that. So if there's a cigarette butt or something else lying around, most people won't notice it. But it's a question on how you want to develop as a photographer and how much attention you want to pay to detail, and how minuscule you want to go in the detail you're trying to achieve. So this is your decision. I'd have cleaned that up because it's quite easy, and then the image is cleaner one, more high quality. But anything I say, it's up to you. This one I chose again because, yes, the location is impressive. Big building, the big fire escape, and you've got a lot of lines here, straight lines going upwards, so that's a very strong direction this is given. But the bike does not really pop. So actually, when I scrolled through your feed, I saw this image. I thought, hey, why does he post an image of a building? Because there are so many lines and forms here, and the bike also is very dark. This area is very, very dark. Again, you shot with a very wide angle, because this bike, this one here is quite big and this one is quite small. And you don't see very much of the bike. This is dark, and this gets a little bit lost because it has a similar brightness than the railing here and everything, so it melts into each other. So it's not a good example on how to prominently show a bike, because the focus is going on the stairs. But again, I love the way here you planted your logo again. You could have tilted it so that it's because if somebody would have painted it, he would have made this line parallel to this one. You realize I'm really having a fetish with these lines and everything being symmetrical and so on. The Dolomites in the Alps, wonderful biking area. Never went there for motorcycling, but I should. It's on my bucket list. Yeah, wonderful shot from one of your tours. Again, it really sparks the passion. The only thing that I would have changed is the bikes are very dark, so I'd perhaps lightened them up a little, and in order to make them more prominent. And also they're out of focus, is that right? Because this looks quite blurred. But besides that, great. It's just wonderful. You can see where the road is leading, so this the viewer looks at the image and he pictures, yeah, I'm now getting on that bike and whee, riding down here. So this is really great. This one caught my eye because that's really cool. Well spotted again, and looking at the light, he said it's in Croatia, and it's of course his shadow on the wall. Sun is setting. It's you can see it's an orangey sun light, so it's the evening sun and it's setting, and this is him, his contour on the wall. I love that because at first I thought it's a wall painting. You know, it looks a little as if it was a charcoal painting from one of those prehistoric caves, which obviously it's not, but that was the first impression I got. This is why I like that image so much. The only point is, why is that here? This could be edited out, so like copy this and put it here, because this is really a little disturbing the image. It's such a great image, such a great idea, well spotted, right time, right place. And then has the part of this wheel. Let's move the bike back a little. This is where experience kicks in, because those details often you don't see when shooting. Already 20 minutes in, wow. You don't see those things often when you're shooting, but only with time. So sometimes when you come home from a shooting and you look at the images and then there's like a flower sticking up in front of the bike and you haven't seen it and it's now obscuring the view to some part, and then you think, oh my god, I should have just moved a little, or don't know, moved the plant a little or whatever. But this is something that comes with experience. Yeah. Nothing to add here, or not much. I like the edit, dramatic sky, and impressive rock structure. I like the composition because you've got the biker is very small, and you see where he's riding, and the rock is towering, and it's again one of those touring images that sparks the imagination. Okay, last one. I chose this one because of the strong color and the strong lines. It's a bridge, obviously, and what I like about this image are the strong lines. As I said, you've got a vanishing point, Fluchtpunkt in German, because the lines are all leading to one center point. So this is really a very strong, let's call it suction effect, so an optical effect that really makes a very strong impression. That car, I'd either have, if it's not parking, if it's passing by, I'd have waited until the car is gone. Or edit it out later, because that's a little, it's a yellow spot. If it was a gray car also, it wouldn't be really that much of a matter, but since it's yellow, it draws attention. You've got blue, you've got red, then grayish, and some small spots of green, but this yellow here, that's a foreign object. You could have gone a little lower with the camera. Although this, the camera position is great, because if you went lower, you couldn't see the vanishing point. So this is really good. Perhaps the bike could have been a little bit more upright, and the shooting position could have been a little bit more back or forth, because you have got this strong line which intersects this. It goes counter. In the opposite direction of the other lines. Most lines are going towards the vanishing point, and this one intersects here. So this should be edited out. Or you could have moved like 5 meters back and placed the camera here. Then you also wouldn't have seen the line. But besides that, that's a great image also. You could have put the light on of the bike, which would have made it a little bit more alive. So that wraps it up. Thank you very much for watching. I hope I could give some input that's of value to you, and thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye.